Hey guys, it's Mark from Migraine Professional. In this video, we're going to be talking about going vegan for migraines. A lot of people choose to go plant-based or vegan for migraines, headaches, chronic pain, just health in general. And a lot of people that are vegan or plant-based are looking for ideas, looking for ways to understand what is going on, why they have gotten the benefits that they've gotten. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about two areas. So it's going to be, on one side, we're going to be talking about what is going on and what may be helping when you go to a plant-based or a vegan diet, what is really giving you the benefits, so that if you want to go vegan or plant-based, you can kind of focus on that. Or if you've been vegan or plant-based for a while and you want to switch, you want to diversify your diet, then you'll know what to take and what to transfer over into other areas. The other area that we're going to be looking at is some of the things we want to be aware of, things that we want to be cognizant of, and we want to make sure that we are aware that it may happen and that we will take extra effort and extra care to avoid if we are going on to a plant-based or a vegan diet, or if we have been on one for a while now and we are starting to kind of lose the benefits of it. So, who am I? My name is Mark from Migraine Professional. I help people kind of understand the underlying causes, the root causes of what is going on, what keeps their pain going, what keeps them stuck in these cycles of flares and remissions. Kind of help them understand what is going on at a physiological level, even after they've tried all the diets and supplements and drugs and lifestyle changes, and they're still getting symptoms, they're still getting these repeated issues. We kind of help to dive into that, dig deeper, and look at what's going on at the physiological level to understand the body a little bit better so we can get at it. Let's get going. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is what may be helping. And so the first area that I want to start with is whole foods. So whenever we are switching, especially if we've been on a standard American diet, switching from that packaged, processed, preserved diet onto more of a vegan or plant-based diet, you will be introducing a lot more whole foods. Now remember, over millions of years, we have evolved with whole foods, right? Whole foods is where you are eating the plant cell or the animal cell. You are eating a entire cell of a creature, and this cell is composed of everything that helps that cell run, right? This is not just a protein or a fat or a carb or a fiber, as is found in processed food. Because when you process a food, especially when you extract things out of a food, there are no longer plant and animal cells in there. That is an extraction, and then taking all these different extractions, combining them together into an Oreo, that is no longer a whole food. So a whole food is what your body has come to expect, what your genes and epigenetics have come to expect over millions of years. This literally, eating whole foods programs and gives our body genetic signals on how we should function. It programs our body to feel and function its best, at its optimal, at what helped us survive evolution over millions and millions of years, was whole food. So just the simple fact of switching from processed, packaged, preserved food full of chemicals and additives over to a whole foods diet, or more of a whole foods diet, you're going to start to see lots of benefits. And so you want to be cognizant of that. You want to understand that it was the whole foods that really helped you feel so clean and fresh and fit and fun, and not necessarily just getting rid of animal foods. The next thing is new. So whenever you are changing diets, you are introducing many, many new foods. You are introducing a whole variety of new foods, hopefully. Now, when you have a chronic illness, an illness of some sort, especially with digestive issues, you are very, very likely to have problems breaking down food, a leaky gut or a hyperpermeable gut, which is a gut that has what we can think of as holes in it that foods and undigested particles can get through, and then you can also tend to have some kind of immune dysregulation, as we've seen with the massive exploding numbers of autoimmune disease in the recent half century. So what happens when you eat a food over and over and over again is that this food stays circulating inside of your bloodstream for 24 to 72 hours. So as this food circulates, if you eat a food, it doesn't get broken down properly by your digestion from proteins into a little tiny amino acids. And then these proteins can get through the leaky gut, through that membrane, into your bloodstream. Then your body and your immune system can attack these proteins. It can attack these particles, these proteins, the protein that says zucchini, the protein that says dairy, the protein that says gluten, the protein that says soy, the protein that says egg. It can attack those, and if it can attack those, it can become sensitized to them. It can start to create molecules to attack that specific protein. And that is how we can go through the process of becoming sensitized to a food. So whenever we switch a diet, what we are doing is we are starting to introduce many new foods, and we are hopefully decreasing the amount of time and the frequency that we are eating the same foods over and over again. So just simply going and eating a bigger range of foods and cutting down on the same foods that you've been eating all the time. You're going to introduce new foods. This is going to lower immune sensitivity. This will lower inflammation. This is going to bring down your trigger levels. And this is going to help your body function much better. Now, also, when you bring new foods into your diet, especially plants and vegetables and fruits, you are going to be increasing your fibers. You're going to be increasing your diversity of foods. And when you increase diversity of foods, you increase diversity in your gut, in your microbiome. Now, your microbiome is trillions of bacteria that live inside of your gut that help you digest foods. They help you keep pathogenic organisms and parasites away. They protect you from chemicals and any poisons and toxins that you're eating. They break down food and they feed you nutrients that your body can't produce itself. They feed you all of these amazing compounds, and they help you break down the food, and they're super beneficial for us. And when we increase the amount of diversity by giving us new foods, and especially more plant foods, then we're going to increase this microbiome diversity, and we're going to see lots of benefits from that as well. The next one is lighter, right? So if we are switching over from animal, mostly or lots of animal foods to more plant foods, one of the things that we have to be aware of is how our digestive process works. And so animals require strong digestive acids to break down those proteins, animal foods in general. And so if our digestion is not functioning properly, if we don't have enough hydrochloric acid because, let's say we have high stress levels, let's say we always eat on the go, let's say we have digestive issues, let's say we have poor vagal nerve tone, let's say we have some kind of parasitic infection, and we are not secreting enough hydrochloric acid to break down our proteins, then when we eat animal foods, we can feel like there's just something sitting in our stomach. We can feel heavy. We feel like there's a log in our stomach. We can feel bloated and gassy, and we can have brain fog, and all of these different symptoms can start to pop up simply because our body is not creating enough of the acids required to break down the animal foods. So switching over to plant foods, to more of a vegan or plant-based diet, automatically going to give us lighter foods that are easier to digest, easier to break down, provided we are not overdoing fibers. That's on the other end of the spectrum. If we overdo fibers, then we can go through a process of our digestion has to adjust to the fibers. We can get digestive issues from that. We want to be wary of both sides. We want to be aware that if we experience benefit from switching to almost all or all plant foods, that it may be simply because we did not have the digestive capacity to break down those animal foods. And so we want to approach our digestive capacity first, because we want to be able to eat as wide of a range of foods as possible. And your digestion not working properly should signal, oh, wait a second, there's something going on in the system. This could be one of the root causes, some of the underlying causes that are starting to get this process going where your body isn't able to break down foods. It's creating inflammation, it's creating sensitivity to foods, all kinds of digestive issues. And so we want to approach the digestion. We want to make sure that our digestion is functioning properly. We're able to break down those foods as opposed to just getting rid of the heavy foods and only eating lighter foods, because then we will get a smaller and smaller diet as time goes on and as our digestion gets worse. And then the last thing that I want to talk about in this section is detoxifying. So whenever we cut out something like animal foods, we want to be aware that animal foods, especially animals that are raised in conventional settings, in giant farms, in feedlot farms where everything is crammed together, where they are fed poor grain, and they're stuck their whole life in a small pen. They can barely move. They never get fresh air. They never get light. They never get pastures. That we are eating foods that are much, much more toxic than just plant foods, because animals are known as bioaccumulators. So they're higher up on the food chain, and so they eat everything below them on the food chain, and they accumulate everything from that. So let's say we're growing some grain, and then that grain we spray with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, rodenticides. We're spraying all those grains. We want to make sure that the rain isn't just washing off all those chemicals we're spraying on them. We're making sure that we're spraying fat-soluble chemicals onto those grains. Now, we take those grains, we harvest those grains, and then we go and feed cows or pigs with those grains. Those cows, just because they eat a higher amount they eat much more than the grain does, they are higher up on the food chain, they are a step higher, they will bioaccumulate, they will accumulate more toxins. On top of that, if we are eating poorly raised foods, these pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, rodenticides, they all go into the grain and then they go into the animal. And then anything that the animal cannot sort of neutralize and excrete because it is not healthy, because it is not living in good conditions, it takes that on. Especially fat-soluble chemicals, they will go and get stored in its fat. And so if we simply go and switch from poor quality animals onto plants, we can see benefits because our body will start to detoxify and drop all of this toxic load. But one of the easier things that we could do, and of course we should be doing this wherever we can, is switching to both organic plants and animals. But for animals, we also want to be looking at pasture raised. We want animals that are on pastures, that are happy and healthy and vital. We want to be getting grass-fed, grass-finished. We want to be getting wild foods and organic to make sure that the things our animals are ingesting and the ability for them to detoxify them is as healthy as possible, so that what we are eating is a healthy end product. Next, we want to look at what could be happening if, let's say, we want to go onto a vegan diet or plant-based diet. What we want to be aware of, what we want to be cognizant of and be careful of, and take more time to kind of vent out, fish out, and stay educated and research on for our own health. And if we have been plant-based or vegan for a while and we're starting to see our health decline again, we want to be cognizant of a couple different things. So, the first thing is amino acids, right? So we know animals are full of proteins. As a protein gets broken down, protein is like a chain of amino acids. In our digestion, if our digestion is working properly, those proteins get broken down into amino acids. Now, the body takes those amino acids, it absorbs them, and then it uses them to build every single thing in our body. Our entire body is made of amino acids. Our entire body constantly requires amino acids to regulate itself, repair itself, rebuild itself. If we don't get those amino acids, we do not function well. And people that are under high stress, people that are that exercise a lot, people that have a chronic illness, people that have just a genetically higher need for amino acids. And then depending on the time of year, depending on all of the different factors around it, you will have different requirements for amino acids, right? One of the simplest things to understand is that if you have a chronic illness or an acute illness, your body will immediately have to start creating acute inflammatory stress response cytokines, right? So these are messengers, these are chemical messengers, these are immune messengers for your body to fight whatever's going on. And so these are very, very amino acid intensive, and they have to be created and recycled and broken down very, very quickly. That's why you'll notice if someone gets sick, if someone gets ill, you'll notice that they will lose muscle mass very, very quickly, because the body will start to take, if you're not eating enough protein, enough amino acids, the body will start to take from the muscle, take from the gut lining, and take those amino acids to start to use so that it can make those inflammatory response proteins, acute response proteins. And so getting enough amino acids is huge, especially if you have some kind of chronic illness, especially if you're trying to repair and recover your brain, repair and recover your gut. You need lots of amino acids. Now, if your body doesn't get enough and it has to take from your body to create these, right? Remember, your body will always choose survival first. So it doesn't care if you have muscle. It will start to pull and pull because it knows you need to survive. You need to fight this infection. You need to survive. If it's taking from muscle, okay, we can lose some muscle mass. That might not be too bad. But if it starts pulling from our gut lining, we can start having big issues. We can start running into problems because we need our gut. We need our gut to digest, absorb, and eliminate foods. And so we want to make sure we avoid that. We want to make sure we are getting enough amino acids for our type. Can we lose muscle, or can we gain muscle quickly? We may not be getting enough amino acids. Now the next one is conversion. So one of the problems is that an animal cell is different from a plant cell. And conversion is when our body takes the plant cell, it breaks it down. We eat all these plants, it breaks it down, takes these nutrients, and then to incorporate it into our animal cells, it has to convert all of these nutrients. It has to turn them into nutrients that our body uses. So like one of the simple examples is omega-3. So if we eat flax seeds, flax is known to be really high in omega-3. So we eat lots of flax, we get our daily amount of omega-3. But the omega-3 inside of flax is not the omega-3 that our body prefers, like DHA and EPA. So our body has to go and it has to take this omega-3, plant omega-3, and it has to convert it into animal omega-3. Through this conversion process, you can lose, based on your biochemical individuality, the differences inside of your body's, all of your body's enzymes, you can lose up to 90-95% of the omega-3 through this process. And so when you think you might be getting enough omega-3 because you're getting lots of flax, at the end of the day, you might not actually be getting enough. This also applies to other nutrients like B12 and like carnitine. These are there are many important nutrients inside of animal foods that are not only found in animal foods, but that need to be particularly sourced if you are going to a plant food or vegan diet. So you want to be vetting what is going on much more closely. Now, as you go through that conversion and as you start to understand your health, you want to make sure that you are getting enough of all of the nutrients, or you will start to see your health eventually decline. Then the last thing that I want to talk about is this process that can happen. So your body is constantly asking for different foods. If you listen, if you're quiet enough with it, if you have an open enough heart that you won't let your mind get in the way, and if you are open enough and you listen to it, it is constantly asking for what it needs, right? It is constantly asking for different ratios of proteins and fats and carbohydrates and enzymes and minerals and all of these different things that it needs to function properly. It is asking for, right? If you are thirsty, your body is asking for water. It is creating thirst and it is asking you. It has all these mechanisms for asking if only we can listen. One of the things that can frequently happen as we switch over to a plant-based or a vegan diet, first, you can see some great improvements. You can see amazing changes in your health, your fitness, your function. You can feel fun and healthy and happy. And this is great. We want to maintain this. And so we just want to be careful around the 1 to 2 year mark. Some people it may be sooner, some people it may be later, but your body can start to switch over and it can start asking. It can start asking for animal foods. So this commonly happens in the 1 to 2 year mark. And it will start asking for more proteins, more nutrients, different nutrients, more variety, more animal foods, more fats. It will start asking for things. So we want to be cognizant of this. We want to be aware and present with ourselves so that we can be there to hear when our body says it. And so it's very easy for us to get in the way with our thoughts, with our ideas, with what someone else did with a diet, with what is on the internet, even with our morals. This is common even with the moral situation of killing animals. We just want to be mindful that if our body is asking for something, it is asking for it because it needs it to function well, it needs it to function properly. If we can hold that space for our body to do that, it's very hard to do. And we want to constantly practice that. We want to constantly be working on our bodies, that connection between us, our brains, and our thinking, and our bodies, what our body's saying, our gut instincts, what is going on within us. So I've created an article that goes into depth in all this. I'm going to link to it in the description below, Going Vegan for Migraines and Headaches. And let me know, have you gone vegan? Have you gone plant-based? Have you gone carnivore? Have you done it for migraines or headaches? Let me know in the comments below. Have you made some diet changes that have included more animals or less animals, or more plants or less plants into your diet? How did that go? Did you see benefit? Did you see changes? What were the downsides? Let me know in the comments below. Ciao.
Hey, it's Mark from migraineprofessional.com. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe in the bottom left corner. And if you want to learn more about migraines and headaches than you've ever known before, and understand what causes them, what creates them, and what you can do about them, make sure to go to migraineprofessional.com. Thanks.